You know what I have an issue with? It's millennial shaming. I've been running into it a lot lately. I'm not even a millennial, so I'm not even like, oh, I gotta protect myself. I just can't fucking stand when people are like, millennials don't take things seriously. They're afraid of commitment. They don't, look, a lot of people don't take things seriously. A lot of people are afraid of commitment. But when we label a group, they become it. When we tell people that they're going to be expected to be a certain way, they become a certain way. We know that from research. But the part about relationship that pisses me off is we're like, millennials don't know how to fight for relationships. But you have to start to put yourself in the millennial shoes to see that they saw their parents often fight for nothing, or fight and lose themselves, or fight and fighting meant forgetting about themselves. And so when you ask them to fight, they equate it to losing themselves. Instead, get curious and ask questions for people who are afraid to fight. But we can never judge someone else's spot. We can never put ourselves in someone else's shoes and say they should do something a certain way. It's their own experience. It's their own life. And when we step into this space of shaming, it causes disconnection where the person will no longer hear what you have to say. They're not open to you anymore because they're too busy defending their self-worth and who they are and what they stand for. And so this whole experience really frustrates me in that usually the people who are shaming are often afraid. It can't come from a good place. Like, I stayed and fought for something and created a better relationship. Amazing. I stayed and I learned more about myself. Great. But you can't just say that because someone's in a relationship and they leave, or they don't want to stay with someone, that they're afraid of commitment and they don't want to do the work. And you also have to start to understand, where do these people come from? What was their experience? What did commitment mean for their parents? What was their messages they were taught at church and in their community? And often when we create shame in a subject like leaving a relationship or divorce or breakups, is that when we say, if you do that, you failed. If you do this, then you fucked up. As soon as we do that, we make it so the person experiences shame in that section of their life, so they hide it and they don't talk about it and they don't acknowledge it and they pretend like everything's okay. Well, we already know when people pretend like everything's okay, they end up addicted to shit, they end up feeling bad, they end up having a horrible life, they end up being on antidepressants, they end up in a whole other place because they can't stay connected to their truth, because we've just told them that their truth isn't okay. That if they were following the path of God or a Christian or Jesus, then they would stay and fight. But man, as soon as you say that, you make the path of Jesus one and the other one not the path of Jesus. But the path of any prophet is not to abandon themselves, is self-love. And sometimes self-love is actually leaving. And you don't have to leave a relationship to leave a relationship. You can abandon a relationship within it. So just because these people are in relationships but they've abandoned themselves does not make them fucking saviors. It does not make them, this from the ivory tower looking down going, look what I did. We all know that people who sit in ivory towers are usually the ones who have the most to hide. Man, that just keeps becoming true in politics and religion. Like, the people who are most repressed usually are on Craigslist asking to get peed on, which is no judgment if you like getting peed on. But, it just makes sure that it comes from a healthy place and not a hidden shadow sexual place. And that's a whole other subject, is how we make fear around sexuality, and so then people have to hide their sexuality and their passion and their desire, and so we make being human flawed, and then they end up with a unhealthy relationship with their sexuality. Look, that pisses me off too. Anyways, this is a rant I just had to share. I love all of you. I hope you're all having a great day. If this in any way resonates with you, share it. If this feels like I'm attacking you, get curious, because I'm not attacking you. I'm just inviting. As I get triggered by stuff, I like to invite the conversation because I think it's important. And hey, man, I'm learning new dialogue, new language all the time, and I'm learning different lenses of the world. And I can understand that someone who comes from a very strict lens, or even wants to shame breakups, divorce, and not fighting for things, usually comes from a place where that's what they experienced, or they stayed past something and it even didn't work, but they're settling, so they want to put that on someone else. Or, I can take a look at the lens that they've experienced and at least find compassion. I have compassion for that point of view. But I do not tolerate shaming. I do not tolerate fucking shaming. It pisses me off when we like try to put our shoes on other people's feet. That's not okay. Especially if you're wearing Crocs.